Okay, so back at the boat now on Saturday, November the 8th, and I'm going to pull the sewing machine out and start working on part two of sewing a Dodger. But I think there's a couple people that maybe don't know what that is or what that means, so hopefully this can help explain. So the Dodger is the cover that goes over the companionway, and you've seen in part one that the first thing I did was stitch the little triangle windows here into this top piece. So if I sit underneath, you can see here there's two bows, two stainless steel bows that create the Dodger, and then there's some framing pieces. And so top piece, this top piece here, has a window that's designed to fit into the little triangle on both sides. We'll see how well I manage that with patterning. And then the piece that I did most of the last video on is like the windshield piece. So that's the forward piece. And what I sewed last time were this big central window and these little triangular pieces that are designed to fit into that. And what I need to do today is decide how much of this space on each side of the main windshield is going to be window, right? I'm going to leave a couple of inches here so that I can put zippers in if I want to down the road. But basically, this is the first time I've been able to clip this with my clothespins onto the frame to see whether or not I can even imagine in my head how this is going to shape up. And so far, actually, for a really amateur sewer, I'm pretty pleased with this. So the important thing for the Dodger is that when I'm seated, which I am right now, you're looking as though like at my eye level. If I'm seated at the helm station, when the windows are complete, I'll be able to see pretty well through there. And then when I'm standing, generally most likely I'll be looking over the top. So when I'm out on the ocean, I can see over the top really well in this stretch, right? So oncoming boats aren't going to surprise me. And when I get to the dock, I just look down a little bit like this to be able to see where the front of the boat is. So I think I've done a good job of designing this. I had to rebuild the steel frames, but I think I've done a decent job of designing this in a way that I get maximum visibility. And I'm pleased so far with how everything seems to be fitting together. So today I'll kind of sketch out what I want in the windows in this area on both sides. And then it's on to final assembly where these two pieces will get sewn together. Right now they're just stapled on the seam. And then triangular pieces on each edge will come down and marry up with the cockpit combing. And that'll be the Dodger, and that'll be part of what tries to draw it tight. And then up at the leading edge here, which right now is just drooping, you can see there's these twist lock fasteners. So this edge will get turned into a seam or a hem like that, and then pulled tight, and a little fastener will go on there to pull that tight. And already I can see I think I've got too much glass, so I'll have to pull this back a little bit. But again, not bad for an amateur's first effort. Stand by.
Okay, so half the time with these projects, the biggest problem is trying to figure out where to find enough space to do them. So this is the floor of the salon. I've cleaned everything out of the salon to make room. There's the sewing box, the tickle trunk, so to speak. There's the sewing machine ready to go. But today's main priority was figuring out what this window needs to look like. And it may look a little goofy, I don't know. But here I've set a 4-inch gap between this edge of the triangular window and the new window, and I did the same 4-inch gap here. So those two edges are easily defined. And then at the top I drew a straight line. I don't know whether or not that's the right thing to do, but we'll see when it gets up there. And then the bottom, I sketched it out when I had this thing stapled and up in place, and you can see that right here it's a little narrower than here, I don't know whether that'll look okay or not, but that's what I sketched, and I think I have to trust what I did when it was in place more than what's symmetrical here. So I've got that window cut out now. Now I'm going to lay that piece of plastic onto another piece of plastic and make a symmetrical window, an identical window for the other side. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did last time. I'll put sticky tape around the outside, seam tape around the outside, sew those windows in place, cut out the fabric in the middle and fold under to make a seam, and then that windshield piece will be done, and it'll be just time to put the 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces together, I think, and then start doing the finishing work. Good morning. As it was helpfully pointed out to me by a friend at 12:02 a.m. today, it is Sunday, November the 9th. Apparently my constantly not knowing the date and day is now worthy of comment. Anyway, this is the windshield of the Dodger, and you can see there I've installed this window yesterday, got that completed just before 7 o'clock last night, and today the job is to mirror that on the other side. So of course, right, in order to make space to lay that out, I've had to raise the cockpit table or the cabin table, which means I had to, disassemble the sewing machine to make room on the floor for me to tape this window down. But I think we're getting very close to the last time I've got to lay stuff out. So it'll just be sewing maybe from here on out. So next step, sketch out where that window goes, apply the seam stick tape, and then put the window down on the fabric. Roll this thing back up, table down, sewing machine on, sew the window in place. Okay, so it's still Sunday the 9th, and I've made quite a bit of progress. So the window is in. This windshield piece is now complete with all the windows, and then this is the top piece here. And what I've done so far today is I have sewn on the flaps that will go back to the along the cockpit combing. There will be a grommet here that'll pull this all tight. The other thing I've done is clean up all the seams, so now they have finished edges. And then the last thing that I'm working on right now is I also made what's called a zipper pocket. So there's a 5-inch piece of fabric that's got all the edges trimmed up, and then it's sewn onto that zipper. And now what I'm doing, I've sewn that pocket onto the main panel, and now what I'm doing is folding that pocket back and using sticky tape under the zipper to fasten that in place. And then I'll run a stitch all the way down here, and that will create this pocket. So you can see it's hollow in there. So that pocket is where the tube will go at the aft end of the Dodger. So I'm going to carry on with this, and the next step is, once that pocket and zipper is all on, then I need to stitch this top piece onto the windshield and do another fit test. And if everything fits okay, then I'm at the point where the bottom seam of this needs to be hemmed and prepared for all the fasteners that will hold it down. So big progress today. Maybe not surprising. I've been at it for about 6 hours. Anyway, stay tuned.
Okay, so sewing complete for now. And you can see it's on there. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn good, I think. There's lots of things I would do differently. I would make these flaps a little smaller on the edges, but those can be adjusted later. So right now it's just taped down around the outside. It's pretty windy to be doing this, but you can see now what the idea is, right? So that would be all tight. That tape is let go, but you can see I've got the windows mostly lined up. When they were stretched tight, they lined up pretty well. Yeah, everything's letting go now, but it was good for me to be able to see that, yep, all the windows are in the right place. Other than these flaps, I think everything else is going to fit. I think I need to tighten up here. The top is a little droopy, just like the bimini cover was, but generally speaking, I think that's going to be really good. So I can start into the finish work now, adding the grommets and tidying up some seams and things of that nature. Good for me.